Welcome
Hello.
back, Roomies. I'm Maria. This is Lindsay.
Hello.
Yes, she's looking so cute with the curls. I love it. We are, yes, we, we are former college roommates who really love movies. Lindsay has a degree. I spent like 20 years like reviewing movies and media and stuff. So we like to try and cover movies the other one has not seen before. And so when I heard Lindsay had not seen this movie, I went absolutely wild because it's just so popular. It's actually one of like the fifth highest grossing movies of all time.
hmm
So even if like it may not necessarily be in your interest, which I can totally understand, this is like a very genre movie. It's just so big. It's kind of hard to believe anybody our age had not seen it before.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
the I'm part of that minority.
hmm
Not
Lindsay said
anymore
she
though.
like, no, not anymore. We're gonna get through this saga, one 3 hour movie at a time.
Child.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And believe you me, there were people who went and saw like, because as each one came out, they had like, oh, you can see the previous one and then see the next one, right? So
Mm,
by the time the third movie came out, they had it where you would see like the first movie, the second movie, and the third movie. That's 9 hours
right. That's a whole
in the
shift.
theater.
Yeah.
That's more than shift. That's shifting overtime. Like,
Right. Right.
um, but they're these, of course. I mean, the Lord of the Rings movies, beginning, of course, with the Fellowship of the Ring, based on the source by J.R. Tolkien of Lord of the Rings, and
Mhm.
directed by Peter Jackson. It really made like everybody's careers who was in it. Like, I
Right.
don't know if you're familiar, but the guy who plays Gollum is Andy Serkis, right? You may recognize Andy Serkis from Black Panther.
Oh. Okay.
He
Yeah.
played Claw
Okay. 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 Okay.
in the
Yeah.
first Black Panther movie.
Yeah.
So this guy has been working.
Right.
Like,
Right. Like
yeah.
I remember Elijah Wood from The Good Son.
Oh yeah.
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 So,
Elijah Wood from The Good Son. And then also, oh, he was in another movie around this time. This comic book movie based on this black and white noir comic or whatever. But yeah, Elijah Wood's been around for a minute.
hmm
Sean Astin as well. He'd been around for a while. He was in this other movie called Rudy that had been really
Oh,
popular.
right. I haven't
hmm
seen Rudy, but I remember seeing the previews because they promoted the heck out of that movie.
hmm He was
Yeah.
also in The Goonies.
Yeah.
He's also in Stranger Things.
Yeah. 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 Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So and then you have Liv Tyler and her dad, of course, famous rocker and everything, but she's also been an actress for a long time as well.
hmm
Um, Christopher Lee, who is like incredible.
hmm
Christopher Lee was not only an actor, he was a spy, and he released some like heavy metal albums while he was in his 80s.
Oh wow. Okay.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
Like they really need to make a movie about his life.
I would
Um,
love that. Yeah.
yeah. Hugo Weaving, very famous from The Matrix. He plays, the agent, Mr.
hmm
Smith, all the time, And
Right.
then
Right.
his daughter, Samara Weaving, is also an actress. She was in Ready or Not, which is a movie that I like a lot.
hmm
Um, Orlando Bloom is
Yeah.
Legolas. Had a big crush on him at the time. More for
I
Pirates of the Caribbean.
I can definitely see why. Because I was like, I barely recognized him, of course, because of the blonde hair, and he looks so
Blonde
much
hair and the
younger.
contacts. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I was like, he looks good. Like, I get it now. I get
hmm
it. Like, I mean, he's nice looking, but now I understand what the craze is about because he
hmm
good in this movie.
It's supposed
Yeah.
to, the elves are just supposed to be just very beautiful
hmm
features and stuff. And we also have where did his name go? Oh, Sean Bean. Sean Bean has been in many, many things. The most famous, probably outside of this, is Game of Thrones.
Okay. Yeah.
Have you seen Game of Thrones?
hmm Yeah, I was disappointed in the ending, but yeah.
Oh, the girl who was, oh my god.
Right. That's
Oh,
another.
it makes me so mad. I can't even tell you.
Right.
Oh God. Anyway, yes. So he played Eddard Stark. So he
Okay.
was, Arya
Yeah.
and Sansa's daddy who got his head chopped off. And the
Hmm.
thing is, Sean Bean dies a lot in the movies that he's in.
It's like he's
To the
typecasted to die.
pretty much to the point where people see him and they be like, "Oh, he's gonna die." Like,
Right. He
like it's
dies
really
so
like that.
good. We have to cast him to die. He
He
dies
gives
so
good
well.
death. What can we
Right.
say? You know. And then you have Ian McKellen, also a very famous actor who also
Hmm.
played Magneto in a lot of the X-Men movies, which is
Yeah,
really cool.
I looked him up while I was watching because I was like, he got to be dead. He's still alive.
He's still alive.
Yeah. Sorry, I put that on him.
Don't put that evil on Ricky Bobby.
I know, right?
And you have Kate Blanchett as Galadriel. Kate Blanchett also has a really great, acting career.
Hmm.
Also, her voice career because she's just got one of those voices that's like butter.
Yeah.
So they have her like doing the intro credits
Hmm.
and all that kind of stuff. And then we also have John Rhys Davies, excuse me, who has been in a lot of things. He was like in Indiana Jones. I mean, just a whole bunch of different things. And you almost would probably not recognize him because he looks so different outside of his Gimli
Hmm.
costume that I've actually had to look him up. Like, are you sure this is the same dude?
Right, right.
But yeah, and Viggo Mortensen, who's another actor that I like a lot, who he's been in a few things. One of the last ones I saw him in, I think, was Eastern Promises, which was good. He was in Carlito's Way, Crimson Tide, Daylight, a bunch of other films.
Hmm.
He's a very good actor as well.
Yeah.
So the cast is stacked.
Yeah.
Also very heavily male. Um,
Yes, I noticed that. And no black people.
no black people,
Yeah. I guess
no
it didn't
indigenous
exist.
people from New Zealand. Like,
Yeah. I guess in Middle
no,
Earth, black people don't exist. I don't.
everybody is white.
I guess we're in the north or the south. We're not in the middle.
No, there are like this. I think I can't remember if it's men in the east or the south who do show up in the series briefly, very briefly.
Mm,
But they're the only ones with any melanin. But of course, they're villains,
right.
basically. Yeah, they don't really get any depiction. That's
Yeah.
been like a serious critique of this series.
Hmm.
That's carried over into the fact that Amazon just did their Rings of Power series, which is like things that set ring this whole series in motion happens in
Hmm.
Rings of Power. So
Okay.
this is like back to the first age of Middle Earth, and Galadriel is super, super young and all this stuff, right? Um, but they actually added people of color like to the cast, right?
Okay.
And as not necessarily they had another creature in there that was like hobbits, but also in the elves and also like the dwarves as well because Gimli we get to the point in the movie where Gimli like let's go to the mines of Moria, and he's trying to catch up with his old relatives, and his relatives that he's talking about are actually like in that series,
Hmm.
and they're an interracial couple. And of
Okay.
course this was a huge problem for some people who
Mm.
just like we're talking about elves, dwarves, you know
Right.
lizards,
We're talking about a world
dragons.
that race doesn't exist.
That is not the most fantastical thing about
Right.
anything in the
Right. Like,
so
and that's my whole thing, when we get to talking about mythical worlds and stuff like that, like race is not something that exists in their world. So for representation in our world, that shouldn't be a problem because
shouldn't be a problem.
you know what I'm saying? We should have like the whole rainbow coalition because it's not a thing,
Right.
you
And it's
know.
not something that like impacts the plot or is important to the story. So
Exactly.
literally anybody could look any race as long as they were like the races in the book, which are completely mythical. So
Right, right, right. So Yeah, as long as they have the, pointy ears and don't wear shoes, we should be good, you
Yeah.
know. And short,
Pointy ears, long hair, whatever,
you
hairy
know,
feet.
right.
Right. I was looking at it, I was like, "Ooh, I wonder what Lindsay thinks of these feet."
Gross. Yeah. Mm.
But yes, so it is a pretty long movie. It's almost 4 hours, I wanna say.
Yeah.
Um, but honest I watched it Saturday, and
Hmm.
it really kind of flew by for me. Like, it's just but I know this
Yeah.
movie so well. I've seen it so many times. My dad
Mhm.
was a really big fan of the movie and also the soundtrack, so I've heard that a lot.
Okay.
Uh, so
Now,
it's almost like
one
I
thing,
know it by heart.
yeah, one thing I did notice, even though it was extremely long, yes,
Mhm.
but to your point, it's like what was going on couldn't have been cut out, so it had to
Yeah,
be long. And
yeah.
then I was talking about it at work last night, and one of my coworkers was like, "Well, did you watch the original one or did you watch the director's cut?" I said, "I'm not fooling with that director's cut." That
Did
was
you
like
watch it
five
on
hours.
Max?
Yeah, yeah. I
Okay,
know
so
both of them
that
are on there.
yeah, so I believe because they had an extended version as well, and so I
Yeah,
think that one was, like, the one that was closer to 4 hours, and then the theatrical version is closer to 3.
yeah. See, the one I watched, because it's one that's like almost 5 hours, if not past 5 hours.
Oh my
And
gosh,
then
that was
there's
crazy.
one, yeah, and then there's one that they say is the theatrical. I watched the theatrical because I was like, I'm not fooling with the other one.
Yeah, no, don't
Yeah,
it's not really necessary, honestly.
yeah.
Um, Now I tried to read J.R.R. Tolkien's Hobbit back when I was in high
Mhm.
school, but he really likes to kinda go on with descriptions of things that don't matter to the story,
Mhm.
which can be, like, basically like prose or using much adjectives or whatever, which is fine, that's his style, but I just couldn't get through it.
Yeah.
And I'm a completist, like, I will take an author and read all of their books, like, so
Right. Right.
I
Right.
I couldn't do it, I couldn't do it, and so I was like, "I'll just put that down." So I've never read anything past that. But one of the great things about movies is you can take all of that visual information and just put it on screen.
Mhm.
So we can kind of stick more towards the story and the events and the characters
Right.
and stuff like that. So I think, like, the movie really did a good job with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one thing that's good when a writer does go into very descriptive detail. Because you can just pull from what they say. You don't have to come up with things
Mhm.
or assume or anything like that. So that is a good thing. And then like you cut out like a chapter just by
Right,
showing,
right.
you know. But yeah, it's cool, but in the same breath, it is kind of hard to get through when you do read. So
Yeah, yeah, it's hard to get through when you do read. But even, like, watching it this time, I turned on the captions, and I was able to, like, pick up more things than I had before because I hadn't watched it with the captions before.
okay.
Um, because they do use a lot of, like, words that are Elvish or, like, some other language made up for the book and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So if you're listening to it, you're like, "What did he say? What
Mhm.
is that?" You know?
Yeah.
So I was like so that's why I was like, "Ooh, turn the captions on," because like, I caught
Mhm.
some things I hadn't caught before.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this takes place in what's called the Second Age of Middle Earth. So we have, the elves, the dwarves, and men. They're all given rings of power made by Sauron, right? He tells them, "Oh, you guys are the leaders of your people. I'm going to give you these rings of power so that you can have power forever, whatever." And they didn't question it,
Mhm.
which is like crazy. And of course, he made one ring to rule them all, right? So he eventually the power, like this desire for power, this ambition corrupts all of the ring bearers, right? And
Mhm.
make them into agents of Sauron. So that's what they're working with. Like there's this whole battle where uh Sauron is fighting against basically all the realms of other realms of existence in Middle Earth, and Isildur actually cuts the ring off his finger, and like there's this huge shockwave, right? And I was listening with my headphones, and it's like you can actually feel it like in
Mhm.
your headphones. Um, So he's got the ring. He's got the chance to destroy it, and he doesn't. He keeps it for himself. He gets attacked on the road because people probably know he has the ring and they want the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Ring falls into a lake. It's picked up by Gollum, and he obsesses over it for like, I don't know, 500 years. But like some between like the battle and where we pick up with Bilbo, it's been like almost 3,000 years,
Yeah.
which is an insane amount of time.
Right. Right.
Uh, so people don't really remember all that much about it. All the written works are probably like buried deep underground or whatever about it
Mm-hmm.
because it's been 3,000 years.
Right.
It's like trying to recall all the facts about somebody who was alive during the time of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Good
Right.
luck.
Right. Right. Because you're working with very limited information, and then
Yeah,
people, playing a bad case of telephone going down the generations.
the worst case.
Yeah.
And let's see, so it keeps Bilbo, not Bilbo, excuse me, it keeps Gollum alive for a naturally long life. He turns into something that does not resemble what he used to be at all. Um, the ring itself is a little sentient, and its desire is always to get back to Sauron. So whatever it takes, it's going to try and do that. So it actually abandons Gollum, right? And
Mhm.
Bilbo finds it, which the ring did not intend, as I say. And so, he's living his life. He's had the adventures that are in the movies, The Hobbit, with like the dragon smog and all that. And so now he's 111 years old and he's ready to basically retire.
Mhm.
Um, and the thing about hobbits that they don't really talk about too much in the film is that they're not really like the most open kind of people.
Yeah.
They want to stick to what they know, and like people having adventures and stuff, like why would you do that?
Right. Right.
You're just
Yeah.
opening yourself,
I kind of picked up on them being secluded when
yeah.
um Elijah Wood's character was talking to the wizard, and
Mhm.
when he at first came back and he was like, "Well, how is it out there?" And I was just like, "Well, I mean, don't nobody leave? Like, y'all have everything
Mhm.
y'all need inside the town, and that's it."
Like, they
So,
even have good relations with other hobbits, right? Because there's this one
hmm
scene where Bilbo was, like, hiding in his house from, like, these other hobbits who want his house and, and are trying to find treasures from his other adventures and stuff
yeah.
because they're like, "You've been alive too long." Because most hobbits don't live as long as he has.
Oh, okay. I thought they
They're
did.
like they live long, but not quite like 111.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so they're
And I
basically like,
thought he
"Where's
was
our."
playing at first when he was talking about he was 111. I thought he was playing at first.
Mm-mm.
I'm like, he looked
Every
really good for
He look good,
111.
right, and he looks that good because of the ring.
Okay. So that's the reason why when they went to the other town, he had aged.
Mhm. When they
Okay.
went to Rivendell and, like, were with the elves and they found him again, he was looking
Hmm.
a little bit older.
Yeah. All he did
That's
was just
why.
make his hair gray. He
Yeah,
really
yeah.
didn't age that much there either. So,
They just wanted it to be subtle to
mm,
see, what was going on.
hmm
But yeah, he's gonna have, like, his birthday party, and for whatever reason, he won't tell them that he's leaving. Like, I don't understand, but
because he don't
fine.
trust.
Well, that's true, he doesn't trust them, but he could at
Yeah,
least tell Frodo.
he don't trust.
He trusts Frodo.
Not enough to tell him.
He's gonna leave everything to Frodo. Like, you can't just
Yeah,
up and
he'll figure it out.
disappear.
He'll figure
Oh,
it out.
no. 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 So, for the celebration, the wizard is there, of course. He comes in with, like, a bunch of, fireworks, and the kids love him for that, but he's Gandalf the Grey, and one of the things that I like about, like, when he's first introduced, you can see they're doing, like, the size differences
Yes.
between the hobbits and Gandalf,
Hmm. I
because
thought
they're
that,
dealing with a lot of. Oh, go ahead.
no, I said I thought that was pretty cool because We're talking about 2001. 2001 is over 20 years ago, and
Mm,
it aged pretty well considering.
yeah, exceptionally well.
Yeah, yeah. And I noticed that, and I noticed the camera tricks they were doing, because it seemed like they didn't want to use too much CGI in
Right,
regards to that. So I noticed all the camera tricks they were doing to show the difference. Because I mean, yeah, Elijah Wood is short, but he ain't that short, and the guy
right.
Gandalf is not that tall. you
Yeah,
know,
you're right.
yeah,
But he's supposed to be something like maybe 7 feet or whatever, like taller
right,
than most men.
right,
So
right.
they do this really great like perspective shifting and stuff. So
Hmm.
and stand-ins and stuff like that. So like the hobbits basically look like children in comparison to him.
Hmm. Right, right. And then when you look at Gandalf's like features, like his hands and stuff like that, they're like massive compared to the
Yeah,
Hobbit.
yeah.
So yeah,
They did a really great job with that, I
they
think, because
did.
they had to show several size differentials, like
Hmm.
hobbits, dwarves, men, elves, Gandalf, like
Right, right. There was a big,
the
yeah, yeah. The only time that I was just like, oh, this is fake, this is CGI, was later on in the film when they were in the tomb or mountain or whatever they was in.
in the mine.
Yeah, the mine. Yeah, that's the only time I was like, this looks bad. But everything else,
Really?
yeah.
Yeah. So Bilbo decides he's gonna retire, gonna get out of there, you know. He is gonna leave. He goes back. He puts on the ring. When you put on the ring, you disappear
Hmm.
from basically everybody's sight except for those who can see in the void. I guess this is called because Sauron later says there's no life in the void. Um, and he's able to like you literally just disappear, which is so
Hmm.
cool. And
Yeah.
so he's getting his bags together. He's ready to go, whatever. And Gandalf was there, and he's like, "So where's the ring?" And he's like, "Huh? What you mean? I left it on the fireplace." He's like, "No, it's in your pocket."
Right.
And so he takes it out of his pocket. He was like, "Oh, I could leave it here, but why should I? It's mine. I found it. It's my precious." Right. Which is what Gandalf, not Gandalf, but I'm sorry, what Gollum says all the time. And that's how you know, like, oh, it's getting to him. Like
Hmm.
he really needs to let this go. And then he almost accuses Gandalf of like trying to steal it from him. And
Hmm.
Gandalf is like, "Excuse me, I can
Right.
take this from you so easily, please. I'm
Right.
trying
Right.
to help you."
Right.
You
I'm
know,
trying to save you. Yeah.
yes.
Like I don't. I'm a wizard. What I'm gonna do with a ring?
Right.
Like.
And I love how he like grows bigger and like it gets darker and like the wood creaks. Like, what do you mean? If I wanted to, I can take it. That's not a
Right.
problem.
Right. It's nothing. Like, dude.
What's a hobbit to a wizard? Like,
Right.
so he gets him to actually drop the ring and it falls with this like just this thud, right? Not like a typical ring, which would like kind of go around and around like maybe a penny would.
Hmm.
It just falls straight down like it's magnetized. It's just like, oh, okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. And he leaves finally without it. He's going on his adventure. He's going to Rivendell. He's like, I really don't like these hobbits. Like they're very small minded, and I'm tired of it.
Right.
Uh, so he leaves, and oh god, why am I losing my words? Um, but he leaves, and Frodo comes home, and he finds the ring. He just picks it right up, like no problem.
Hmm.
And he offers it to Gandalf, and Gandalf was like, "Yeah, I know. Like, you cannot offer this to me." He's like, "I would want to do good things with this, but like the power of it would corrupt completely. It's going to corrupt any kind of intention that you have."
Right.
And like he's actually just trying to get over like from seeing it apparently because Bilbo showed it to him and everything, and he's like, "Ooh, like I really would rule." Like he's like shaking, like
Hmm.
he doesn't even want to touch it. And
Right.
so he asked for the ring and like already has the envelope because he really doesn't like. He's like, I can't, you know. So what happens is Gandalf leaves and he goes to actually research the ring because again, it's been 3,000 years.
Right.
How do we know this is really what ring this is, right?
Right.
And in the book, he's gone for like 11 years, I think. or something like that, because he has to go like way across Middle Earth, and he's
Oh
digging in all
wow.
these libraries and all this stuff, and looking at maps and da da da. Da.
Yeah.
So it's like sitting in that envelope on the fireplace for like 11 years. So there's a lot of like time cutting
Yeah.
from the book to the movie, which you have to because like what?
Right. Right. I didn't
So
realize it was that long.
you wouldn't. Why would you? Like,
Yeah.
but that's one of the great things about the movie is things keep happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rarely like staying in place. Like it doesn't feel it feels well paced, basically.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because if we were sitting for 11 years, it'd be like, what?
Right.
Why are we doing this?
Right. So when is he
So
back? Is he back today? Will he be back tomorrow? Next week? Like,
he's gone
like
for 10 years.
right. So
So he finds that out. And he also finds out that the dark forces are gathering again after 3,000 years, and they know that the names Shire and Baggins are connected to the ring, so you got to get out of here. You
mm-hmm.
know. So he gets the stuff together and he's trying to get out of there, and then there's this shake like outside the window,
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, it was like scary.
Yeah. There was a couple of parts that were like that, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's actually Samwise Gamgee, who's played by Sean Astin, and he's just he's outside the window listening, talking about he's cutting the grass. And Gandalf was like, "You out here eavesdropping?" He's like, "I ain't dropping no eaves." Which I just think is just so cute. And so basically, he's like, "Well, you're gonna have to go on this trip with him."
Yeah.
He's like, "Okay, fine." And so they're on their way together, and they're eventually joined by Merry and Pippin, these two other hobbits who are
Yeah.
troublemakers, basically
Right, right. Because
nothing but making trouble.
those are the same ones that stole the fireworks, right?
Those are the ones that stole the firework.
Yeah.
They had to like wash all the dishes from the event for that. They're the same ones who
Mm-hmm.
are stealing from this farmer's land, which is how they even run into Sam
Right.
and Frodo. They're causing trouble. They're always hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah, they're a menace. So
they
yeah,
are.
yeah, they needed to go.
They are, that's probably, the Shire is probably happy to see the back of them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so they meet together. They're on the road and everything. They're going. Gandalf is going to Isengard to meet with like his wizard boss or mentor, uh, and they're supposed to meet each other at this pub. And so they get to on their way to the pub. They're like being hunted by what's called the Nazgul, which are the 9 men that receive the rings, and they're now ring wraiths for the villain, the Dark Lord Sauron, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so they're always hunting the ring, and it's like they can feel it all the time. So at one point, they're out on the open road, and I guess Frodo just gets a feeling. He's like, "We gotta hide." So, and they do this really cool like dolly tracking shot, or to make things like feel closer and claustrophobic and
Mm-hmm.
spooky, even though it's daylight. I love it.
Yeah.
And so, like the Nazgul comes in on the horse, and you don't even hear them until they are right there on you, which is
Right.
crazy to me.
Right. Right.
And the whole scene gets dark and
Mm-hmm.
everything, and they're huge and like just like silver sharp claws and black cloaks and all that, and the hobbits are hiding like under this tree basically,
Mm-hmm.
trying not to be found. But what's happening is because the Nazgul is close and is looking for the ring, and the ring wants to be found, Frodo starts, it's almost like about to put the ring on.
So this is where this is where the movie loses me.
Mm-hmm.
Because Bilbo has had the ring for X amount of years. And who told the other ring holders that this ring was out? Like, did they just
Gollum.
feel it?
They found Gollum
Okay.
and they tortured him, and he was the one who gave them the names Shire Baggins.
Okay. Okay. That's, yeah, because I was lost because I'm like, how did they know? And if they just felt it, wouldn't they have felt it years ago?
Well,
So
they had to regather their forces because it's been 3,000 years.
yeah,
So the last thing they knew was that Gollum had the ring, and Gollum had the ring like 500 years ago. That's when he
right,
first got it.
right, right. Okay, okay, I get. Now that
Mhm.
makes sense now. Okay.
So they're headed to the Shire to find Baggins,
Hmm.
and so the ring fills him there and is like, "Hey, Frodo, put me on." Right? And Sam is able to keep him from doing that, and they're able to run away, and they're able to get to the pub that they're supposed to be at. But Gandalf's not there. Don't
Hmm.
know why. I do love how they shoot the pub is very much from like the Hobbit's point of view. So like
Hmm.
all the men are real tall.
Yeah,
It seems real dark. Like
right.
they're fascinated with the fact that they can get whole pints instead of half pints
Hmm.
because they are half pints.
Right, right.
And it's there they run into the character known as Strider, who's a ranger. And I love how they introduce his character. It's iconic to me. Like I just love this shot so much because it's just the light from his pipe,
Hmm.
like illuminating his eyes just briefly,
Yeah,
and then like light lingers in his eyes just a little bit as it grows darker. I just love it. I just think
yeah.
it's so great.
I think this whole segment, the cinematography was like top tier.
Incredible, yeah.
Yeah.
Because as they're there, like Mary gives I think it was Mary anyway. I'm not gonna remember which is Mary, which is Pippin. Okay. But he tells the whole bar, "Oh yeah, Frodo's right over here."
Right. Yeah, like why? Why would you do that?
And they've been told like, Saruman has not Saruman, but Sauron has spies everywhere.
Hmm.
All kinds of spies. It could
Right,
be man or animal. They're like,
right. So you really need to
but
lay
anyway.
low. But no.
But no, he's had a little too much to drink and he's got loose lips.
Mhm. Right, right. So now, oh boy has to, save the day because
Yeah.
they're on them. Yeah.
So Strider steps in and he gets them a room and everything. And we see the Nazgul roll up on the pub, kill the dude at the gates, like just completely flat.
Yeah.
Like he didn't. I was
Like,
like,
dang, he probably would have opened the door. Y'all didn't have to do all that. That was
you
so
could have
rude.
just run through the door. You don't have to wait for him to get there. Like,
Right, right. That was so rude. He didn't deserve that. R.I.P. to that
no.
man.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
they,
but I love this scene for when they came into the pub. I thought that was so cool. Love that.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, because you just see like the innkeeper who's hiding, he's
Hmm.
terrified, and you see the Nazgul like passing by him with their swords, each
Yeah.
going in and out of the scene and everything. It's like, ooh, that is scary.
Uh, it was very scary and it was very effective and it was just so smooth.
Yeah,
It was just so smooth going through. I loved it.
like they're gliding.
Yes. Yes.
And then we get a little bit of trickery where we get shots of the hobbits sleeping and the Nazgul sneaking up on some beds and like stabbing them with their long swords, only to find
Hmm.
out they didn't go to the hobbit accommodations. They went to the human accommodations because
Hmm.
Strider knew the Nazgul or whoever was looking for them would look in the hobbit accommodations
Right.
first.
Right. Which will make sense. Yeah.
Right. So smart.
Yeah.
But they totally give you like a total fake out because you're like, oh god, because they make it look like they're actually stabbing the hobbits
Hmm.
at first.
Yeah.
And then the Nazgul have this screech for their main method of communication, I guess. Like
Hmm.
all they do is screech.
Yeah.
And so when they don't find them, they all screech together and it's just like, oh God. All right. Are you banshees in your part time? Because that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. Something. Shoot.
Mhm. So Gandalf's not at the Prancing Pony because he's been taken prisoner by Saruman, who's supposed to be his mentor and everything. Saruman is working for Sauron now and had tried to recruit Gandalf, and Gandalf was like, "No,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that."
Hmm.
And he actually like one of the first things he sees when he goes to visit Saruman is this sphere, and oh gosh, I think it's called a Planeteer or something like that, but it helps people basically communicate over vast distances like a crystal ball. And so he's like, "Whoa, you need to like cover this up because it's basically like a party line anybody can pick up and
Mhm.
see or hear what's happening." And so when he goes to cover it, he sees the eye
Mhm.
of Sauron, and that's how he knows Saruman is now working for him. Because why else
Mhm.
would you be doing this? So they have a wizard fight, right?
Mhm.
And Saruman has this line that I like a lot, and he's like, he's after he's been rejected by Gandalf, he's like, you've elected the way of pain. I was like, I feel like that'd be a great line for a wrestler. That'd be such a great line. But
Yeah, I'm sure.
they have their wizard fight, and eventually Gandalf is on the roof of this extremely tall tower. And he's just been beaten, and he's just like, ailing on the roof basically.
Right, right.
Um, this little moth, who's actually like a small great eagle baby, comes by and he whispers to it. It goes, comes back with its mom, I guess, big
Mhm.
old great eagle, and Saruman is going to torture him some more, but he actually just jumps off and onto the eagle and flies off because he's missed his appointment. Gandalf stays missing his appointments. Okay,
Yeah.
he's always late for some reason.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Okay.
he's able to get away from there. No? Okay.
Yeah.
So he's able to get away from there. And Strider tells the hobbits he's going to take him to Rivendell, which is like one of the elf kingdoms.
Mhm.
But on the way, they're ambushed by the Nazgul, or they're on top of like some mountain. And the hobbits had made a fire. Merry and Pippin had made
Yeah.
a fire so they could cook some more food in the dead of night. And
Right.
Frodo wakes up and is like, "What are you doing?
Right. I was like, they're
What?
less
What are you
smart.
doing?
Yeah.
Turn it on. Turn it on."
And they just chilling like, hey, you want some?
Right. You want some food? No.
No, I don't want
And
none
like,
of
no, I want to be safe.
it. Right. Oh man.
So, like, Frodo stomps out the fire with his feet, which is like, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Y'all,
Yeah.
y'all got, wow.
There's
Those
no
hobbit feet are thick.
okay. Well, you've been walking around barefoot for all your life. I can see why they would be a little thick.
But also, they're known for like their big feet, big and hairy, big
Yeah.
and hairy,
I
which they show several times in the movie.
yeah, yeah. Like they I was just thinking like me as an actor, I would have had to have some Hobbit feet powered by Nike because there's no way I would have been walking around barefoot. Like,
Oh, I'm sure they didn't really,
yeah, but
for like, especially not outside. But yeah.
ain't no way. So no way.
But one of the other things that I like about this film is like they show off the beauty of New Zealand.
Okay.
It looks incredible.
Yeah.
You know, it looks like some kind of fantasy place where these things can
Hmm.
happen.
Yeah.
It's just gorgeous. I would love to go to New Zealand one day. And like a lot of the sets, especially for the Shire, they're real. Like
Okay.
Bilbo's house is real. That was all built.
Okay.
And you can go and like stay in them like Airbnbs or something like that.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
cool.
So, on their way again, while the Nazgul find them because they lit that fire, right? And there's really nothing they can do because Strider is off somewhere doing something.
Hmm.
And he eventually does show up, and they're all fighting. He sets a Nazgul on fire, which is really great.
Hmm.
And but Frodo, in the midst of everything, is cornered by one of them. He doesn't know what to do. He can't fight them. So he puts the ring on so he can disappear. But the thing is, because they have their rings, they can see him in the void.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. So it kind of defeats the purpose.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, he doesn't know that.
Right, right.
But they can see him, and anytime you put on the ring, Sauron finds you immediately.
Okay.
So they have this really kind of like great distance shrinking again, where the eye is like right on you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and because they can still see him, one of them stabs them with their blade, and the blade is poisonous. So
Mm.
they really, really have to get to Rivendell now to try and heal him because they're like, this wound, ooh, we can't do anything about this. He'll actually turn into one of the ring race.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, of course, he'll take the ring right to Sauron,
Right.
which is like a genius weapon.
Yeah, yeah. When you think about it, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, if that's defeating your purpose, yeah, then you want to
Yeah.
prevent being stabbed, which it almost took him. Yeah.
It almost did. So he meets up with his elf girlfriend Arwen, who I think was like specifically for the movie. As I
Uh,
understand it, I'm not sure that she was in the books, at least not in this particular role, like not such an active role.
hmm
Um,
Yeah, and it was like, how did she find him? Like he got GPS or something? Like,
Maybe that's what he was off doing when they were getting attacked by the Nazgul. He was talking to Arwen or something, you know.
I, yeah. But how the hell did she find him?
Magic,
Yeah, she just popped
you
out of.
know,
Yeah.
elves are magic.
True. This is true. Yeah.
Because when I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said we can't question. Yeah.
No lot magic.
Right,
So,
right.
um, so when she finds them all together, you can see her through Frodo's eyes, and
hmm
so he's seeing her through like this magical void, whatever, and she's in all white and like shining and stuff like that.
hmm
Although to everybody else, she looks kind of normal. She just has pointy ears, pretty much.
Yeah. Which she
Um,
kind of hides.
right. Well, yeah,
hmm
with their long hair, right?
hmm
Because elves and humans are not supposed to be together, really. Humans are inferior to elves, basically, and for an elf to like spend their life with a human, they would have to pretty much give up their immortality
Yeah.
and also their passage to their version of heaven. So, which is called Valinor. And so when they talk in this movie about like getting on the ships and going to the west, they're talking
Mhm.
about going to Valinor
Mm.
because they're
Oh,
basically like, we give up on Middle Earth.
right. Right.
We're
It's
leaving.
ghetto. I'm done. Right.
Yeah, I'm done. Exactly. So another thing about that is we find this out in like the series on Amazon.
Okay.
But Valinor had these two trees of light who were really special to the people, and one of them is like kind of cut down or something. It's been a long time since I saw the series.
hmm
But the only living elf who has even seen the tree is Galadriel.
Mm.
So
Okay.
she's been alive for over 3,000 years.
Right. Right. Right.
Crazy.
hmm
Now the series on Amazon. Hey,
Yeah.
Michael. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mike watching. He says, "Hello, ladies. Excellent review. Thanks."
Welcome, welcome. You have to tell us your favorite parts.
Right. Right.
The series on Amazon is boring.
Yeah.
It's so dry.
Yeah, I saw one
Um,
of those reviews that you sent me, and they were talking about it being a big flop.
yeah. And it was the most expensive TV show like ever
Oh,
because it's trying to keep up with this quality.
right, right, right. Which will make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
So is
just
the most
Mhm.
successful one? Is it the first one?
The most successful of all these films?
Yes.
No, that's probably Return of the King, the third one.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Mhm. So like the finale for this series.
Right, right.
Um, but each of them is better than the last. So, and that
Mm-hmm.
was the one that like finally got like all the awards and stuff like that. Because a long time people were like, why don't they give anything? They don't give too much beyond like special effects, right? And
Mm. Yeah,
the Oscars don't really care for genre movies anyway.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And, like with Black Panther, they had to create, they had to
And this was
create a
before
war.
all the Marvel thing. Like
Right, right. So yeah,
they barely wanted to give it to Black Panther. So like,
right, right. They was just like this one. We're definitely gonna have them picking it outside of our studio. So let's go ahead and create an award to give to
yes.
shut them up for a year.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So yeah.
So they all are finally in Rivendell uh, for protection and like Frodo's being healed up, even though they're saying like this wound will never actually fully heal. But it's a good thing they
Mhm.
got in there before he turned. He sees Bilbo again. Bilbo's looking a little older. They're talking about their travels and whatnot, and Frodo shows Bilbo the ring. And he
Yeah.
was like, well, maybe I can hold it one more time. I was like, ooh. Like,
And the way that his face turned, ooh,
it
child.
is a jump scare. Like,
Yeah.
complete. Because, like, this place they're in is like permanent fall, basically, but it's like super nice weather, whatever. Everything looks very clean and comfortable. The music is very light, all this stuff. And then all
Hmm.
of a sudden, he just turns into fangs and claws and
Right.
darkness
Right.
in a split second. And you're like, oh my God,
Right.
what?
It was like, what just happened? All over a ring that ain't got no diamonds in it.
But it's
Yeah.
got all the power in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. That it does. But use that power to put some diamonds in it. I don't understand.
Well, they probably would after they conquered the entire Middle Earth. So, like,
All right.
you
Right.
know.
Priorities. Priorities. So,
So
but
that part, I like watching like reactors get to that part because there's no way you could see this coming. Like it's not.
no, no.
No.
And especially because that's his nephew. Like,
Yeah.
he was really about to like rip him apart for that ring.
Well, the ring.
Yeah. Man, a
You
diamondless
see,
ring.
I don't know this ring.
Yeah.
So they hold a council because they realize that it's not just Sauron; it's now Saruman, and like he's extremely powerful wizard and everything, and he's being commanded to raise this army, right, of orcs and urukai. So the orcs are like the smaller ones and they don't talk. The
Mhm.
urukai are the much bigger, beefier ones who may say a word or two, right? They're the generals.
Yeah.
So he makes them out of what looks like earth, I guess.
Hmm.
And like I was like, it's a little too close to like these are mud people, and I was like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Um, and so he's like decimating the forest and everything to keep this forge going because they're making all of these swords and helmets and armory. Like they're building an army of many thousands.
Yeah.
So they all, the group is meeting in Rivendell because they're like, we got to get rid of this ring. We got to
Yeah.
have somebody who can do it, who won't be so tempted by the power of the ring, and who can basically stay on task. And
Hmm.
so it's a council of elves, men, and dwarves. Um, and they're trying to decide what's going on. This is where we meet Gimli and Legolas, right? And then we also meet Sean Bean's character. Of course, I'm blanking on the name. Let me see.
Yeah.
uh, because he's Isil. Well, he thinks he's Isildur's heir, but
It's Boromir.
Boromir, right? So Boromir, who's like, I'm not totally sure if he's like royalty of Gondor. Well, he's one of the sons of the stewards of Gondor. That's what it is. Because
Okay.
Gondor is kind of like not really it's supposed to be like the White City, the Kingdom of Men, all this stuff, and it's not really all that anymore. And he's very much about like I gotta protect my people and we gotta repair the White City and all this stuff, right? He's
Hmm.
very that's his main motivation as a character.
Yeah.
But because he's like, hold up, we could use this ring to like gather power to fortify Gondor to fight Saruman and all that. And they're like, no, you cannot do it's not going to work like that. It doesn't matter what your intentions are. The outcome, if you use this ring, will be evil and destruction.
Yeah.
For
Yes.
whatever reason, he can't seem to buy that for the entire movie.
Yeah. Yeah, he was on one because wasn't he trying to take it at the meeting?
Yeah, at the meeting. At the
Yeah.
meeting and every minute after that, he was
Yeah.
very determined that he could change this ring, right? I can
Yeah.
change her.
I
Right?
don't know why he thought him at all these thousands of years he was the chosen one to change the trajectory of this ring.
No idea. No idea.
But
But
go
this
off.
is I'm sorry?
I said, but go off. Yeah.
Right, right. Like I get you want to save your people, my guy. I understand your desire. It seems real pure and everything, but you're not listening, and I don't
No.
know why you think you're special.
Right, right.
So, you know. So, Stride. This is where we learn Strider is Aragon, and actually Isildur's heir. He's supposed to be the rightful king of Gondor, all that stuff. But he doesn't want it
Mm-hmm.
because I guess he thinks he doesn't think he will do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they're having this meeting. They're all fighting about who's going to take it,
Yeah.
right? And that's when Photo says, I'll do it. I'll do it." Damn,
Right.
like damn, like
Right. Like
all
just
y'all,
shut up
y'all
already.
just fighting, right?
Right.
And I love we have this shot of Gandalf's face where he's like thankful, but also like, damn, I really didn't want it to be you, you know. So I like that shot. He Frodo also gets this armor of mithril, right? And it's pretty much you can't be pierced. It's also very valuable. And so at
Mhm.
one point Gandalf tells him like, I never told Bilbo that this was worth many times the entire Shire. I was like, really?
Mm.
I was like, I hope Bilbo wasn't struggling with finances and you just didn't tell him
Right. Right.
that he could breed, future generations' wealth if he just sold this.
Right. Right.
I hope Bilbo was never hungry because you just didn't tell him that. Right?
You know, that would be like some vital information. You know,
Hello? I would be very upset.
just a tad. You know, a little perturbed.
So this is where we get our Fellowship of the Ring, our group that's going to go together and try and take the ring to Mount Doom because that's the only place it can be destroyed. It's in the fires of Mount Doom.
Mm-hmm.
Very convenient for Saruman.
Yeah.
So, also one of the things that happens is they have this scene with Boromir and Aragorn where they're looking at like the sword that Isildur used to slice off the finger, right? And Boromir is so disrespectful. It made me so angry, like, and I didn't anticipate like being so angry, but I was so disrespectful because here's like this 3,000-year-old artifact. You just pick it up and bleed on it, and then drop it on the floor.
Yeah. Yeah. That can be a bit
Disrespectful.
Yeah.
Especially when this is the weapon that defeated Saruman the first time. You acting like it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
First of
Yeah.
all, I don't know why it's open to the air at all, but like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was just right there. Yeah.
and you want to be this great leader.
Mm-hmm.
Disrespectful.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the thing with him. He can't be a great leader.
Mm-mm.
You know, he made a couple of kerfuffles that shows that he just it ain't in him.
It's not.
Yeah.
He ain't got the dog in him. Sorry.
Mm-mm.
So they're off to do all that stuff. So they're got to go through this mountain pass, but Saruman summons like a snowstorm to like fall on them and try to like make an avalanche basically. And one of the things that I like about this scene a lot is they're trudging through the snow, and like the snow is like almost up to the hobbits' necks, like it's crazy. But Legolas walks on top of the snow
Because he's an elf.
because he's an elf. He can't even sink in the snow. He's
Right.
just too cool.
No, can't.
So sorry.
Mm-mm.
I actually repelled her, so you know.
Right. Like I can't. Like
Mm.
y'all do that little snow thing. I'm not.
Yeah. You know, I'll walk ahead so I can tell you what's going on.
Right, right.
Wait for you to catch up.
Right.
So they're forced into the minds of Moria, which we can see that Gandalf does not want to go through.
Mm-hmm.
But Gimli is like, I really want to go because I want to see my relatives and like they're so welcoming and everything. He's telling them about how it's gonna look and like the foods they're gonna eat and how friendly everybody is and whatever. And so they finally get there and there's it's like a riddle to get into the mines.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very simple, but they cannot figure it out.
Yeah.
And so it's in Elvish and it says to enter, speak friend or something like that. And so Gandalf is trying all of these spells, all of these words, incantations, and it's going on for a while. So like some of them are playing in the water, basically, like throwing rocks in the water. Only
Mm-hmm.
we see something else is in the water, like
Mm-hmm.
responding to their interference, but they don't. But finally, was I think it was Frodo who was like, "What's the Elvish word for friend?" And Gandalf says it, and of course the gates open. Like
Right. It was so simple.
you're overthinking it.
Yeah. Which I mean,
And
what we do, you know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, but I totally would expect like a wizard like him to overthink it.
Mm-hmm.
But I even remember seeing it for the first time. Was like, well, say it like they would. Say friend. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's just try that because it seems like the easiest thing to do.
Right, right.
So they get it open at the same time. Like this tentacled water beast is coming out towards them, and I cannot even tell how many tentacles this thing has because
Mm-hmm.
it seems like more than an octopus.
Yeah, it was humongous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
of
then
course,
he just started cutting off stuff, and he still had a whole lot. So
he
yeah,
still had more tentacles. I was like,
yeah, it was weird. But yeah, I initially thought octopus too, but it was just too many. It
no, no, no.
was some mythical character
Yeah.
or creature,
And
right?
yeah. And I'm wondering, like, is it working for Saruman? Because it picks up Frodo like immediately. So,
Mm-hmm.
but they're able to free him, and they, run into the mines. They have to now. They can't go back,
Right.
and like they can't even kill the creature. It like just collapses the entrance. So
Yeah.
they're stuck in these mines, and you're looking around, and like it's a graveyard.
Yeah.
Bodies everywhere,
Yeah.
decomposed. Um, One of the things about the Amazon series prequel thing is that
Hmm.
you do actually get to see Moria in like its heyday.
Okay.
So you get to see like all the things Gimli's talking about. And
Yeah.
it's really gorgeous. It's really
Yeah.
gorgeous. Like there's waterfalls and gardens and like there's amber glowing everywhere and people are wearing gold or whatever. And this is where Mithril comes from. And because Mithril is so desired and expensive, they kept digging further than they really should have
Okay.
because as they say in the movie, they dove too greedily and too deep, right?
Yeah.
Trying to get this Mithril.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like one of the problems that comes up in the series.
Hmm.
And we see like there had been this huge battle. Uh, none of the other. It looks like none of the other doors made it. Uh,
Yeah.
don't know how long it's been, like since, but they're going around. They find like this book that this dwarf was writing about the current events that were happening,
Hmm.
and he's talking about hearing the drums and how they're coming, or whatever. Like to his very last, like he's writing.
Hmm.
And they figure out that it was like these cave trolls and like orcs and stuff like that. And while they're doing this, Merry and Pippin causing trouble again. Decide to touch something that don't need to be touched.
Lord. Mm.
And not only does like this decomposing dwarf body fall down the well with all of its armor on, so does the bucket to the well. So does the chain to the well. There is nothing that missed that noise.
Right. Right. I was like,
Because
oh, gee.
Because at first you're like, maybe it's not that bad, and then it just keeps getting worse.
Yes. And it kept going. I was like, oh Lord. Okay. And he just standing there like
You messed up, but what can you do?
right, right. Like stop touching stuff.
Like we have to give him the black mom speech before we go into the store.
hmm Right.
When we
Don't
get in
ask for
there,
nothing. Don't
don't
touch
touch
nothing.
nothing. Don't ask for nothing.
Right. Just stand there. Be quiet. Like that's it.
Oh my goodness. So we start hearing the drums that the dead dwarf had talked about. And we start hearing, skittering and scattering, and like, here come the orcs and everything, and they're trying to fight them off, and it's not going so well. And now the orcs have a cave troll, which is just huge. And
hmm
there's this fight scene actually still looks pretty good,
hmm
considering the CGI you would need to create a cave troll.
Yeah. Yeah. This is
Because
the CGI I was talking about earlier.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
when Legolas gets on top of the cave troll,
hmm
yeah, that it is a little wonky right there for sure,
Yeah.
because you're trying to like have this supposed like human like on top of this mythical thing doing all this action, so it gets a little bit like in 64, I guess.
hmm Yeah, yeah. And then there was other parts of the mine where it's like, okay, y'all are definitely in front of a screen. Like,
Yeah, but they have a really great. It's a great fight scene, honestly.
hmm
I can't describe it to you, but it's good. So,
Yeah.
Legolas continues to be an absolute badass with his arrows.
hmm
Um, he uses his arrows like bullets. Oh, what? It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so they're able to get out of there, but they're still surrounded by all these orcs, and they're about to get them. But you start seeing this like light, this orange light, like these
hmm
huge steps, and the orcs start running away.
hmm
It's like, oh god, well that can't be good. So
Right. Right.
if the orcs are like, nah, this is not worth it.
Right. That's my cue.
So they found out that when they dug so deeply for this mithril, they released this demon basically called a Balrog. It's just like made of fire and shadow, and like just nobody wants to deal with it. So
Right. Right.
they're like, we have to keep going, because they were going to go across the mine from one end to the other, and apparently that's a 4-day journey.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, we're not doing all that time stuff. So
hmm Right.
so
Right. It's already long enough. We can't do this.
they run from the Balrog, and they like come across these stairways that are broken in some points, and I don't know why nobody believes in handrails, and
Mm-hmm.
like they're trying to make it across this bridge, which is like so tiny, like 3 inches across. Like, what are we doing?
hmm Right.
And then
Right.
also being attacked by orcs while they're trying to run away from the Balrog.
Oh Lord, it was a mess. And you know what I was thinking? I know this is a little left field, but I was just like, how did they build all this stuff?
They built a lot of stuff, and I'm sure there was a lot of CGI for this scene in particular.
Yeah, but that's where my mind goes. I just think about like them building. I know we're in a mythical land, and I know they're doing CGI, but like if we were in this land, how were they building this stuff?
In the mines of Moria,
Yeah,
mining, just
yeah.
like carving out of pure rock.
Yeah, but you know, they didn't have like the technology that we have now or the equipment that we have now. I was thinking
But
about it.
it's also magical. So
Yeah, I'm sure they probably had some type of spell, and then voila,
right,
here we go.
right,
Cause
some elven help to like sand the corners down or whatever.
right, right, right. Wrote their name on the side. I was here,
Right.
but yeah, that's where my mind was going during all that.
No, but it is fascinating, like to have like this entire city underground.
hmm
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'll send you some pictures of what it looks like in the show so you can like compare.
Okay.
But yeah, I totally get that too because it's like, wow, how could all this exist under here?
Mm-hmm. And it just keeps going.
Like it just keeps going. 4 days to go across?
Right. Right.
How? Right.
So
So they're trying to escape the Balrog and they're having to like jump from staircase to staircase. Oh, this one gives me so much anxiety. Like
yeah. Yeah. I
because
had to.
they're did you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause
Especially when they first got in and they was going down them steps and the steps just stopped.
Mhm.
I was like, oh shit. This ain't gonna be a cakewalk.
Stopped abruptly. I was like, "Oh my
Right.
god."
Yeah. And you really need to pay attention to where you're stepping because they was almost out of here that quick.
Mhm. One
Hmm.
more push.
Right. Right. And then when they were going over the steps and the steps were breaking up and they had to start jumping across and the one guy
Yes.
was like, you're not gonna throw me over because he was throwing the hobbits. And he jumped over and he almost was out of here, but they caught him by his beard. I was like,
He's like, "Not the beard."
right.
Like, "Well, what do you want? You didn't want to be
Right. I
tossed."
mean, you didn't put your hand out. I could have grabbed your hand, but no, I grabbed the first thing to save your ass. Like
Right.
your beard or what else?
And then when it breaks off and like it starts swaying,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, "Oh god.
Yeah.
Ah." Cuz you
Right.
can't control the way this is going to go.
Right. Right. And then
Even if you can
like
make the jump.
right. But then when he was like lean forward, I was like, okay,
I
that
mean, we
makes
can
total
try.
sense.
But
Right.
like,
I was
that's
like,
all we
this
got.
right, right. And he had to think on his toes with that one. Cause I sure
Yeah.
would have been like, we're out of here. Just go on ahead and say your last prayer. Cause it's a wrap.
It's
We
better get
tried.
smashed. And, at this
Mhm.
point, I'm like, Gandalf, where's your magic? Like, what is happening?
Right.
So
Right. Like give us
they
a spell
eventually
for some steps.
something, right? Can you make a
Yeah.
magic bridge?
Okay. You got all them spells. You ain't got one for a walkway. Like, golly.
Little parachute, something.
Something. Just make a big old spell and we should be there by now. Like, why we gotta go through all this? Why we gotta walk? We gotta go through all this hell. Just do a spell. What
You've done
potion
enough.
can you cook up so I can drink it and be
Something.
there? Like, I
I
ain't
do you
got
need it right?
time.
So they make it down the stairs and they make it across the bridge to the other side of the mine, but by the time they get there, like the stuff is still collapsing. The Balrog is after them, and so Gandalf turns around and he tells the Balrog, "You shall not pass," which is a really
Mm,
great scene. You
it
know,
really was, but it was like 10 minutes too late. Like, why you didn't do that 10 minutes ago? Like, I was
because
like,
they're trying to get to the other side of the mine.
I get it, but he could have been and did that.
Because if he does it too soon, they're stuck with the orcs, and they still got to get to the other side of the mine.
But he can only do it one time. He only got one
Yes,
in him.
I guess.
Maybe it
Yes.
takes too much energy. I don't know.
I don't know. What do I
Yeah.
know about magic?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so he tells him, "You shall not pass," and like the bridge breaks, and the Balrog is falling, but he cracks his whip one last time and gets Gandalf by the feet.
Yeah. I was like, oh, got him.
So close. He was
Yeah,
so close.
he was. He was. I soon as he got his ankle, I was like, got him.
Yep. And he tells them, go keep running, like run, you fools, like because they're
Right.
just staring. They're staring.
Right, right. Oh, they was distraught. They didn't
They
know which
were.
way was up. And I
I
understand.
don't blame them.
Yeah, I totally get it.
So they managed to escape. They're still on their way to their next stop, which is Lothlorien, which is another little elvish kingdom. And they have to hide from spies in the form of birds and like all this other stuff. And so they finally get to Lothlorien, and Lothlorien is like is kind of like, I guess, the spring kind of like Elven Kingdom. Like if
Mhm.
Rivendell was fall, Florian is like spring or like just like constant spa, basically.
Mhm.
I feel like you would walk there and you would just like hear spa music suddenly. It would just be
Mhm.
like a total ASMR kind of thing.
Right, right.
Um, but as they're walking there, Gimli like trying to warn them about these elves or whatever, and how he's got like such sharp senses and everything, and then immediately turns around to arrows in his face. And they get there and they meet Galadriel, who is the elf queen, played by Kate Blanchett. And
Mhm.
she basically is like reading all of their minds and freaking them out for no reason.
Yeah.
You know. And she warns Frodo that someone from the Fellowship will try to take the ring.
Mhm.
And she shows him this vision of what happens if Sauron wins, which means he'll enslave like all of Middle Earth, including the Shire. And like, I didn't read the book, but I did listen to like a radio play version.
Mhm.
Um, and so in the radio play version, this actually happens. Like he before he's able to destroy the ring, he destroys the ring. He goes back to the Shire to find like everybody enslaved. And so he has to like fight against that whole thing. But yeah. So like,
Okay.
but yeah, those are probably some of the scenes and they just use those here. And this is also where they learn about like the army of Uruk-hai and like how they're hunting them as well.
Mhm.
And they all receive a gift from the elves. And so Frodo gets Starlight, and Gimli's just in love with Galadriel. And so he's like, I asked her for her hair off her head, and she gave me three. And he's just like, it's just totally smitten.
Right. Right.
Um, they they give him this bread called lambus bread, which is supposed to be able to fill a grown man's stomach with one bite. Oh, but the hobbits ate like four.
Yeah,
And
that's
they
like
give them yeah, they give them these cloaks that are gonna help like hide them from the enemy and all these things like that to help them with their journey. And Frodo offers Gladriel the ring. And she's like, ooh, I could use that, here's how I can use that. And she like totally transforms. And
Mhm.
she's like, instead of a dark lord, you have a queen as dark and changeable as the sea. Y'all will love me and despair. And then she's like, she catches herself and is like, whew, okay, well, I passed the test. And that's when she's like, I will go into the west and diminish. So she's talking about going back to Valinor.
Mhm.
Um, so they're able to leave there. And of course they're just walking. It's a lot of walking in this movie. There's
Yeah.
so many steps. They're getting in all the steps, right?
Right, right.
And so they get to Galen and went by this river, and it's in the land of I think they said Aragath, but it's like the land of where Aragon's people are from.
Mhm.
And they have these really great big statues, right
Yeah.
at the waterfall with their hands out. I love
Mhm.
that visual. It's so
Yeah,
great.
that was so cool. And again, my mind went left because I was like, "Who built this?"
Right? Because when they go past it in their boats, you can see like they're literally only at the height of like the big toe.
Right,
How
right.
massive these are.
Yes, I was like, these feet are huge. So just imagine, and they're two of them on the side of a
Hmm.
mountain, and it's like the gateway. Like it was a really cool scene. It was a really
Yeah.
cool scene. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Really, really cool. Lots of it was really cool to see it on like IMAX because of course they're like super huge. But
Hmm.
so we go through there and they're basically in the woods and um Boromir confronts Frodo. He tries to get the ring from him. Uh
Yeah.
and this is also at the same time like the Uruk-hai and the orcs are on them. All right, and they're trying to fight them too. And
Mm.
so
So going back just a step,
mhm,
when they docked, what did you think about Boromir when they docked? Because he just looked completely exhausted. Do you think it was just exhaustion or just like him trying to fight the urge to get that ring?
Oh, no, I don't think it was exhaustion. I think it was the ring, right?
Yeah.
Because the ring wants to be found, right?
Yeah.
So it will do everything to work its will. So I think, the way it was kind of like, the way it kind of kept Bilbo alive, the way it kind of dra- drained Gollum, that kind of it has an effect, like a physical effect, and I think that's part of what it was.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
he definitely looked like he was like under the weather and hadn't washed his hair in days. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And when he died, he was just outdone.
yeah.
And I'm just like, what exactly is it? And then when it progressed to him trying to get that ring again, it was like, okay, maybe that's more what it is.
Hmm.
So
So he's trying to get the ring from Frodo. Frodo can't fight him. Like,
no.
so Frodo puts on the ring,
Yeah.
and runs away. And that's when, Saruman finds him and of course sends the army that was nearby directly there to try and get the ring. They have orders not to kill any of the hobbits
Hmm.
because they're not quite sure which hobbit is which,
Hmm.
right? So they go in there and they're trying to kill everybody else. So
Yeah.
Boromir puts up a really good fight, actually trying and ends up protecting Frodo. He takes like 3 arrows and he's still
Yeah.
fighting.
Still fighting. Still
Yeah,
fighting. He was a real one for that.
yeah. He's still trying to be honorable and be a good steward of Gondor and everything. And
Hmm.
um, they come after Frodo again, and we see Merry and Pippin, and Merry and Pippin. I can't remember which one of them, but they're looking at him like, "We need to get the boats, right?" Basically, like, "We need to go," and Frodo's like, I think I'm gonna go alone." Basically, Frodo has decided he's going to go alone after this interaction with Boromir because it's like
Hmm.
this is seems like it's way too much. Like,
Right. It
I
was a
need
lot.
to be able to just
Yeah. Yeah. And he came that close to it all ending. And he just was like, this is too much. I'm going to have to do this myself.
yeah,
Yeah. So
and he
understandable.
yeah, because I can't have another person in the Fellowship attacking me. Like, this is
Hmm.
not gonna work.
Right.
And then also Gandalf is dead, so this is like
Yeah.
the Fellowship like almost immediately fell apart.
Right. 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 Like, because Gandalf and Boromir, they both are
Yeah.
gone now. And it's too close to home. So, yeah. Right.
So
Michael
he
says, he was like, too much on my plate. Nope. Yeah.
right,
Hmm.
completely too much. Like, we need
Yeah.
to simplify this Fellowship.
Right. Right.
So he also at this point in this part of the movie offers the ring to Aragorn, and
Hmm.
Aragorn is like, "No, absolutely not." Like,
Right.
he's not even really a little bit tempted. He's like,
No.
"This is yours.
Right.
So
Right.
sorry, you're gonna have to carry this on your own."
Right. Like, I don't want no parts. I said I was going to help you. I don't want to touch that thing. I don't even want to look at it. Just close
Yeah,
up your hand, put it close to your
yeah,
chest because I don't want no parts.
no, you take that with you.
Right.
Like, yeah, I just want to be with my elven girlfriend,
Right. Right. I said I was going to
who,
complete
by the way,
it and I'm going to get to her afterwards.
oh yeah, by the way, she decided she wanted to be with him, so she's given him like her life kind of force thing. I don't really know too much about it, so um, but yeah, so he also has a really great fight scene with the orcs. Like, whoa, they put. I mean, the fight looks brutal for real because
Yeah.
the Urkai like finds him and it's like, "Well, I'm gonna fight you," and throws his shield at him, almost impaling him. I mean,
Hmm.
not impaling him, but beheading him almost.
Right. Right. I
Like,
thought he was done. I thought he
yeah,
was done. Yeah.
and it's a tough fight. He cuts off the Urkai's arm. Urkai's still going. Like, that was a flesh wound. Like,
Hmm.
and then he stabs him in the middle, And Urquhart's like, "Oh, is that all?" And pulls him closer with the sword, and you can see Aragorn being like, "What?"
Right, right. I am giving you everything. What the hell? Like,
Brutal,
yeah.
until he finally beheads him, which is
Mhm.
always honestly the best way to go.
Yeah, yeah.
So
He was
he
knocking
he
him down though.
he was knocking down for real.
Hmm.
So the orcs now have like the halflings they could find, so they run off with them, and then Aragorn finds Boromir, and like they have this moment before Boromir dies, where Boromir's like, "I would have followed you anywhere, like
Yeah,
you're the real heir," and all this stuff, like basically having a little redemption moment,
yeah,
and they actually give him, I guess, their style of burial, which is they put him in like in a boat and have him go over the waterfall.
yeah.
And
Yeah. It was sad.
yeah, Frodo is on the beach and he's gonna leave, and he finally gets in his boat, but Sam finds him. And he's like, "You're not." He's like, "You're not leaving without me,"
Right.
basically. And he almost drowns, and then Frodo
Yeah.
has to
I was
pull
like,
him
they
up.
about to hit us back to back with these deaths. It can't. It can't
And
happen.
like,
I
this is
can't
the
take
first
it.
movie; it just started.
Right. Like I can't take it. So not within 5 minutes. No.
But Sam is like, "I made a promise to Gandalf, so we got to keep going." And
Hmm.
then we have Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli who are setting out to rescue Merry and Pippin, and Sam and Frodo are on their way to try and get to Mordor, because
Hmm.
one does not simply walk into Mordor.
Yeah.
But that's the end of that movie.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, I would ask you if you think they could redo it, but it's been 20 some odd years, but it doesn't feel like it.
They're definitely gonna try, but I really don't think it could live up to. Like, I don't know. You tell me, as a someone watching it for the first time.
I feel like it's recent. Like I feel like it just came out like a couple years ago. Really do. Like, and then even watching it, it's like, is this a typo? Did this really come out in '01? Do y'all
Maybe it
mean
is.
21? Because it looks really good. You know what
It
I'm saying?
does.
Yeah, outside of the little, things that they could easily fix nowadays. But
Mhm.
it looks really good. Like I don't think a reboot or remake or whatever. I don't think it's needed for at least another 10 years, at least.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but they're always trying to do it, so.
Of
But
course. Of course. You know.
the budget for this movie, $93 million, right?
Hmm.
It made 898.2 million.
Right. Right.
So
I saw
almost a
that and I was
billion.
like,
Yeah.
wow. Of
Yeah.
course. Of course they're gonna have two and three and then Hobbits and then three Hobbits and then a prequel. Of course. I would
And
have
then the
done
series.
I would have done it too. Like I get it. Now, one thing I did notice when you first turn it on, it was New Line Cinema. And
Mhm.
traditionally, especially during that time, traditionally New Line Cinema was known for horror and black people movies. So to see that they did this movie, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a step in a completely different direction.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because you used to seeing New Line Cinema in front of something black as hell or scary as hell.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, one of the two. And they went for something that has zero black people and is in a total fantasy world.
Oh, complete fantasy world. Like,
Yeah, and then I also noticed that the book came out in the 50s, or say 54, and I was like,
yes, the book
"What?
came out in the 50s. He wrote it after World War II,
Okay, okay, yeah,
which, yeah, informed a lot of it because it wanted to show, like, basically some of the horrors of war.
hmm yeah, yeah." So, you know, I tried to watch it the first time and I was completely lost. I was like, I have to do this again. Hold on. Give me another day. I have to do this one again. but
No, I understand. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But even watching it the second time I did get it was parts that I did get lost on, but with the explanation videos that you sent,
Mhm.
those did help out. So so yeah, but and then towards the end, probably like the last hour and a half, that's when I really was like, okay, like I think for me it was the mind,
Mhm.
going through the mind, and then you know from that to the end is what really had me like, okay, I'm really engaged.
Mhm.
Because even though I can tell that there was just some like it had to be this long because there was just everything that was in just had to be in. Like you couldn't really cut it out, but
No.
it was still kind of dragging for me in some parts. But it just was what it was because you couldn't cut anything.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, and I was wrong before. The time between, like, where Gandalf goes to research the
Hmm.
ring is
Hmm.
actually 17 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
So they were very much like, "We gotta cut some of this out." They even cut out, like, one of the more famous characters named Tom Bombadil. A lot of people were upset about that.
Mm, yeah.
But it's, it's very much to your point, like, we gotta keep this moving.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I feel like they cut as much as they could.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and for a movie to be 3.5 hours, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So
For you not to get, like, totally tired.
yeah. Right. 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 So, um, but yeah. Um, when you watched it, you saw it in IMAX.
Probably. It's been so long, but I saw
Uh-huh.
it a few times, so
Okay. Well,
I
what
know
going?
one of those times was IMAX.
Yeah, yeah. So going back to the first time you saw it, going in, what all did you know?
Going in, well, that I knew, what you saw in the trailer, of course. So we had, like, the ring being evil, one ring to rule them all, and the darkness bind them. Um, I knew Bilbo had the ring. I didn't know what happened with that. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, I knew there were gonna be, like, dwarves and elves and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
and wizards, but I didn't really know, like, the details of the story. I remember when I was, like, maybe 4 or 5, my parents had rented The Hobbit because it's an animated version,
Yeah, so,
for me,
yeah.
but it's not for 4 and 5-year-olds. Like, I was like, "What is it?" Like, no,
Yeah.
give me Jim, like, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know too much about it, no.
Okay. Okay. And when you walked out, you was just amazed.
Yeah. I mean, the whole time, like, it's just like from the beginning where you have the battle with Isildur and he cuts off Sauron's finger and you
Hmm.
have that boom. It's like, "Ooh, oh,
Yeah.
okay," you know? The effects were amazing, like, the fireworks just like, wow. Like,
Mm-hmm.
imagine if fireworks could be like that. That would be crazy.
Right. Right. Right.
Um, I love the spookiness of the Nazgul and everything like that. I love, like, how kind of bizarre the elves are because 'cause they're supposed to be, like, strange,
Hmm.
to humans. Um, but I also, that's yeah, the music was great, like, the score is phenomenal, it really is.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine hearing it like with surround sound and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really intensifies some of the scenes and stuff. So yeah, that's pretty cool. All right. So let's get into our rating systems.
Yes.
One system. So, we have one movie real trash AF, two it exists, three entertaining, four great, five a true classic. Maria, what say you?
I'll give it a 4.
4.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think I've pretty much explained why I think it's great, but
Right, right.
there are very few misses in this movie. Um, and when it comes to basically like you're kind of in the middle of a story, but it's also kind of an origin story as well. It does an
Mhm.
extremely good job at informing you about the characters, the places, the stakes, all that kind of stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'll give it a 4.
Okay. Um, I would give it a 3.5.
Okay.
Yeah, it's entertaining. It's not nothing typically that I would watch.
Mhm.
So it's probably the reason why I haven't seen it in the 20, what, 3 years that it's been out. But yeah, it's definitely entertaining. It aged like fine wine. It
Mhm.
really did. So I'm definitely impressed. Definitely impressed. So yeah. So
Did you recognize the cast as you were going through it? Were you surprised by anybody?
um no, I wasn't necessarily surprised. Like I remember because Lord of the Rings was a big deal whether you saw it or not. So I
Mhm.
remember hearing about some of the people that were in it and whatnot. But yeah, so it wasn't necessarily a surprise. It just was like oh, I remember, you know, because like with Orlando Bloom, because he doesn't look like himself.
He doesn't look like that, but of course that was also
Yeah,
21 years ago.
right, right. I'm used to present day Orlando Bloom, and I'm used to him with
Right.
black hair, so the blonde hair, kind of like makes him pale a little bit. So,
Mhm.
but when I started really looking at him, I was like, dang, I get it. I get it now, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah.
But yeah, it's a pop culture phenomenon, so
Yeah, 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 and I can see why. Especially, it came out like we said, like we continually say in 2001, and it came out I want to say in December of 2001,
yeah.
and you
Mhm.
know what happened in 2001. So
Yes.
yeah, it came out perfect.
There there are a lot of lines in here that I felt like really spoke to what we were going through at the time, like,
Hmm.
because Gandalf says things about, just basically what's important is how you react to the conditions that you're in.
Right, right, right. Um, yeah. So I feel like that plays a part in the success because it
Mhm.
was extreme escapism from what we were going through at the time.
100%.
So not to take away from the movie, but yeah.
No, no, I think it speaks to the movie's success.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So um so yeah. So yeah, that is Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of yeah.
Fellowship of the Ring. I
The
remember
first
when my mom saw it, she was like, "They just walked off? That was the end of the movie?"
right. Yeah, I was shocked that that was the ending too. Yeah. Because I'm like, so we're not gonna do nothing else. All right. Well, yeah.
See you next movie.
Right. Basically, definitely was the setup because you
Mhm.
got to see what happened next. So, like, where did they walk to? We went through all this for 3.5 hours just for y'all to just be like, all right, well, see you next year. Right?
Basically.
So yeah. Um. So yeah.
What movie have
Oh
you chosen for me?
yes. So 1991 is the year, and we will be watching no. New Jack City.
New Jack City,
New
yes.
Jack City, yes. Living just enough for the
To the
city.
city, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
What
So
about
We'll be watching that with Wesley Snipes,
Mhm.
with Chris Rock, Ice T, Mario Van Peebles, and
Judd Nelson.
yes, Judd Nelson is in it as well. And what's the other guy? Dang, can't think of his name right now. What is that man's name?
Mhm.
The one that's on House of Pain. Alan Payne. How can I forget Alan Payne? My
That's
bad.
really his name?
Alan Payne? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
his name. Right, for him to be on House of Pain. Yeah.
Also,
Um,
apparently, Keith Sweat.
yes, Keith Sweat plays himself.
Mhm.
So I ain't gonna tell you what he does in there. But Christopher Williams, the Vanessa L. Williams. No, not L. Vanessa Williams. Vanessa L.
Okay.
Williams is Miss America. Uh
No,
Mike.
Vanessa L. Williams is an actress.
Okay.
And then
Wait,
This is Vanessa A. Williams. Oh my
A
god, how
Williams. Yeah.
many?
Vanessa L. Williams. She was Miss America, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I was yeah, okay. I was thinking of this Vanessa
Yeah. Yeah.
because she
Vanessa
was
A.
also in Candyman.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, which if you go on their Wikipedia page, there's like a whole section talking about the issues that they've been having over the years because people get them switched.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah. So yeah. Michael says New Jack City. Alrighty then. Yep.
Yeah, you gotta join us. You gotta come back and join us, Michael.
Yes, yes. So yeah, next time it will be New Jack City. So Maria, where
Yeah.
can we find you?
You can find me online pretty much anywhere. If I'm there, you'll find me at Valar More Dollars. That's VALARMOR dollars. I also have another podcast with 6 other Black ladies where we talk nerdy, geeky, techie, pop culture things called Nerdgasm Noir. So you can join me over there too. And where can they find you, Lindsay?
You can find me everywhere at L underscore Renelle. That's L underscore RANELLE. And also on my other podcast that I do with my cousin, the Ish We Talk, and we talk about various topics.
Yes, various hot pop culture topics.
Yes, or current events and stuff like that. Like
There you go. Heard of it.
we talked, we're from Kansas City, Missouri. So yeah, shout out to the Chiefs. But yeah, we did spend a lot of time talking about the parade situation. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. Michael says New Jack City is basically the movie that ushered in the black cinema era in the
Mm, okay.
one of them. Yeah. Yeah, because I mean we gotta give it up to Boys in the Hood as well.
That's true.
Yeah, the same year. But yeah. So I think Boys in the Hood was West Coast, New Jack City was East Coast. So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So yeah. So this was episode 49 of Roomies Review the Movies, and we will see you guys for episode 50.
55.
Bye.
Oh,
50. We're getting up there.
yes.
Yeah. Bye.